Hey friends, I'm sitting here on my back porch as the sun's just coming up over the mountains, coffee going cold in my hand. Thinking about the day I finally got to stop biting my tongue after more than 40 years of keeping my head down, doing the work nobody else wanted to understand, and wondering if anyone would ever notice. My name is Jack Harlan. I turned 62 last month, though the calendar says 63 now that we've crossed into 2026. Spent most of my life making sure things that needed to keep moving kept moving. If you've ever waited for a package during one of those holiday shipping disasters, the ones where the news shows empty shelves and angry drivers, and it actually showed up on time, there's a pretty good chance some quiet guy like me had a hand in making that possible, that I'm not one for long introductions or fancy words. If stories about hard work finally getting the respect it deserves, about standing up when the young suits think experience is something you can just delete and replace with an app, if that sounds like something you'd want to hear all the way through, maybe hit that little subscribe button. I promise I'll keep it real. No hype, no nonsense. Just one old Navy vet telling it like it happened, the way I'd tell it over coffee with a friend. Here we go. I started at Horizon Freight Solutions in Phoenix in the spring of 2016. Back then, the company was still small, maybe 100 people, a rented floor in a business park near the airport, and dreams bigger than their bank account. They hauled freight across the Southwest, mostly dry goods, auto parts, groceries. Nothing glamorous. But they were honest, and they paid on time. I just finished my 20 years in the Navy. Logistics specialist. Spent most of my career on carriers and supply ships, making sure parts, fuel, food, and munitions arrived where they were supposed to be, when they were supposed to be there, even when storms, enemy action, or bad decisions tried to stop us. The Navy doesn't let you fail. You learn to plan for every contingency, fix what breaks, and never leave anyone behind. When I left the service, I didn't want a desk job with a corner window. I wanted to keep doing the same thing in civilian clothes, keep the supply chain alive. Horizon needed someone who understood routing, customs, compliance, and the thousand little details that turn chaos into delivery. They couldn't afford to hire me full-time at first, so we made a deal. I formed a little LLC, Harlan Systems. I wrote the core software they needed. We called it Anchor Core, not because the name was clever, but because anchors hold things steady when everything else is drifting. I licensed it to them instead of selling it outright. They paid a quarterly fee, got on-site support from me personally, and in return I kept ownership of every line of code, every algorithm, every decision that went into making it work. My attorney, Victor Morales, a sharp, quiet man who works out of a second-floor office above a taqueria in Mesa, wrote the contract so tight you couldn't slip a piece of paper between the clauses. That Anchor Core wasn't flashy. No AI bells, no cloud fireworks. Just solid, reliable code that handled real-time carrier compliance, cross-border documentation, vendor routing across 47 states, integration with ancient mainframes that other companies couldn't even touch anymore. It was built the Navy way. Assume everything will go wrong, then build it so it doesn't, and it didn't. When the 2018 trade wars hit and ports backed up for weeks, Anchor Core rerouted shipments automatically, recalculated duties, found alternate carriers. When COVID shut down half the world in 2020 and everyone else was scrambling, we kept going. 85% uptime when competitors were at 40. During the 2021 supply chain crisis, while the news showed empty shelves and billion-dollar losses, Horizon's customers got their freight. We processed over $180 million in transactions that year because of that code. I never asked for a plaque or a bonus. I just did the job. Worked long nights when needed. Drank too much coffee. Went home to my quiet house on the edge of town, where the coyotes sang after dark, and slept like a man who knew he'd done right by the people who depended on him. Everything changed in the late summer of 2025. Paul Grayson, our longtime CTO, a decent, steady engineer who'd been with the company since the beginning, took an early retirement package. He didn't say much at his farewell lunch, but he pulled me aside afterward. They're bringing in someone young, Jack, he said quietly. Someone who thinks experience is a liability. Be careful. I nodded. I'd heard the stories. Tech companies love fresh blood, new ideas, disruption. They forget that disruption without foundation is just destruction. Nathan Caldwell arrived on a Tuesday in September. 29 years old. Ivy League haircut, tailored vest, expensive sneakers that had never touched a server room floor. He walked into the all-hands meeting like he owned the building, clicked his laser pointer, and put up a slide that looked like modern art gone wrong. Circles, arrows, buzzwords in bright colors. Team, he started, clapping his hands once like we were children at recess. I've audited our current stack. And honestly, it's holding us back. Monolithic dinosaur code from another era. We're pivoting to full microservices, containerized, AI-driven routing, cloud-native everything by the end of next fiscal year. We're going to be the disruptor, not the disrupted. I sat in my usual chair near the back. Watched the slide. Watched the older engineers exchange glances. Watched Nathan smile that confident, practiced smile. Then he said the words that made my coffee cup freeze halfway to my mouth. We're sunsetting Anchor Core. Completely. It's time to stop carrying the weight of legacy decisions. Legacy decisions, that's what he called the system that had kept the company profitable through recessions, pandemics, and tariff wars. That's what he called 8 years of my life that I set the cup down carefully. Felt the old tightness in my jaw, the one I used to get when a young lieutenant thought he could rewrite procedures on his first cruise. That I raised my hand. Slow. Calm. Excuse me, Nathan. Anchor Core handles 92% of our real-time carrier compliance and cross-border documentation. You take that offline without a full parallel run and testing, you're not disrupting anything. You're detonating the business. Heads turned. A few of the older guys, people I'd mentored, people who'd sat with me at 3 a.m. fixing things, looked at me like I'd just stepped on a landmine. Nathan turned. Looked at my faded navy polo, my graying beard, my name tag. Read it even though he already knew who I was. And you are? Jack Harlan. I wrote Anchor Core. He gave a small laugh. Polite. Condescending. Jack, I appreciate the history lesson. Really. But we're not running a museum. We need speed. Flexibility. The world's moved on from big, heavy systems. I nodded once. Slow. Fair enough, I said. You're the boss now. I leaned back. Let him finish. Let him talk about velocity, synergy, technical debt. Let the younger ones nod along because they were afraid not to that I didn't argue anymore that day. But I knew exactly what was coming. The rest of the week was textbook corporate house cleaning. Monday, calendar invites vanished. The weekly architecture sync? Gone. Strategy meetings? I could see them through the glass walls. Nathan holding court, erasing my diagrams, replacing them with colorful charts full of clouds and arrows. Tuesday, access revoked to staging environments. Wednesday, VPN cut. Thursday, my badge still worked, but people started avoiding eye contact in the hallways. They smelled blood. In corporate America, getting fired is contagious. Friday morning, the invite arrived. Quick sync with Jack Harlan. Conference room C. For 15 p.m. Classic. End of week. End of day. Give the old guy the weekend to process his new reality that I didn't pack much. A couple framed pictures of my daughter and grandkids. My navy ball cap. The pocket knife I've carried since 1987. Before I shut down the laptop, I ran a military-grade wipe. Habit. Then I picked up the manila folder I'd carried in that morning. Inside, the original licensing agreement. Every key clause highlighted in yellow. Victor had made me read it aloud 3 times before I ever signed anything. Conference room C was a glass fishbowl near the elevators. Everyone could watch the execution. Nathan was already there, arms crossed, satisfied. Maria from HR looked like she'd rather be anywhere else that I sat down. Placed the folder on the table. Nathan spoke first. Jack, we've decided to move in a different direction. Your role doesn't align with where we're headed. Ending your employment effective immediately. Standard severance. Badge and laptop, please. I slid the badge across. Set the laptop beside it. Maria started explaining the paperwork. I raised a hand. Gentle, hold on. We're finished with the employment part. Now we need to talk about the vendor relationship. Nathan frowned. What vendor? I opened the folder. Turned it so they could read the cover. Harlan Systems LLC and Horizon Freight Solutions. Licensing agreement. Signed 2016. Renewed automatically every quarter for 9 years. Quarterly fee, $110,000. Nathan stared, then at me. You're joking. No, sir. I don't work for you. Never really did. I've been your landlord. And you just fired the guy who comes with the lease. Silence. Nathan laughed. Short, sharp. That's ridiculous. We own everything you wrote here. Read section 4. I said softly. All intellectual property remains with the licensor. Usage rights revocable upon material breach, including non-payment or unauthorized modification. His face changed. Confusion. Then the first flicker of fear that I stood. Payment was due Saturday midnight. Not received. Breach 1. Trying to replace Anchor Core without permission. Breach 2. You've got 72 hours to cure the payment default. After that, I'm required to suspend service. Federal compliance. You might want to tell the board. You can't just turn it off. I don't have to. The system does it automatically. That's what good code does. I walked to the door. Paused, Maria. Pull the last 8 quarters of vendor payments. So everyone understands what they're looking at Monday. Then I left. Outside, the Phoenix heat felt like freedom. I got in my truck. Lit a cigarette for the first time in 7 years. That IT tasted like the end of one chapter and the beginning of something better. That I didn't go straight home. Drove out past the city limits to a little roadside diner I used to visit after long deployments. Same faded sign. Same smell of grease and strong coffee. Rosa, the waitress, recognized me immediately. Jack Harlan. You still fixing things nobody else can. Trying to retire, Rosa. Not going so well. She poured black coffee. Left me alone. I sat for hours. Watched the sunset paint the desert red. Thought about my wife, gone 7 years now. My daughter in Seattle. Grandkids I only see on screens. At 63, most folks are thinking golf and grandbabies. I was about to play the hardest hand of my life. Friday night the text started, Tommy Ruiz. They're celebrating. Nathan brought champagne. Said they're cutting the fat. I feel sick. I replied, stay clear, Tommy. Monday's going to be rough. Saturday, yard work. Fix the faucet. Grilled steak. Normal things. Human things. Sunday, slept late. First time in years. Alerts started around noon. License heartbeat failure. Grace period active. 48 hours. I watched. Didn't touch. Sunday evening. Unauthorized modification attempts logged and Nathan's team already poking the bear. Monday morning, 5:30 a.m. coffee. Laptop. Command center on my private server. 7:55 a.m. Verification cycle. Green to amber. Amber to red. Error 402. Payment required. Contact Harlan Systems, LLC. Sipped coffee. Imagine the chaos. Tommy's voicemail. Everything's down. Nathan thinks it's cyber terrorism. Sarah from accounting. Dashboard's red. Error points to your name. Then Nathan himself. Jack. We have a situation. Did you do this? I don't work there anymore, Nathan. You made that clear. It's extortion. It's a contract. Silence. Then Michael Donovan, CEO. Jack. What the hell is happening? Your CTO fired your landlord. Now the house is locked. He tried the corporate family speech. Raise. Come back. No, Michael. That bridge is ash. 2 options. Rebuild from scratch or buy perpetual license. How much? 1.9 million. He laughed, then stopped. I'll give you until 10:30. I hung up. Waited. The reckoning 9:30 came. Then 10 o'clock. Then 10:12. Jessica Coleman, General Counsel. Section 4 is airtight. We're wiring 1.9 million. Need confirmation you'll restore access. Send the draft. Wire hits. Patch deploys in 60 seconds. Contract arrived. Clean. Signed. Return point 10:38. Pending deposit. $1 900,000.00. I stared at the number. Felt 40 years of quiet work finally breathe. Typed the commands. Update license _status equals program release escrow _bundle cancel _compliance _store patch green lights cascaded. Tommy texted. It's back. People cheering. Nathan looks sick. Nathan walked out that afternoon. Left his laptop on the table. 6 months later. Early summer 2026. I'm on the porch again. Coffee cold because I've been watching the sunrise. New office. Converted garage. Oak desk. Mountain view. Grandkids pictures. Navy flag. Streamline Logistics hired me to build Ridge Core. Small team. All over 40. No vests. No buzzwords. Built it better. Rust Core. Real machine learning. Handles 10 times the volume. First beta. Perfect spring season for a major grocery chain. Horizon. Stock down 28%. Nathan in crypto now. Michael apologized once. I told him not to call again. These days I check logs every morning. Not because I have to. Because I like seeing the wheels turned out. I think about the quiet ones. The ones in the back row. The ones with scars from keeping the world moving. If you're one of them, 65, 70, older, still working because someone has to, you're not obsolete. You're the ridge line, the foundation, and sometimes you still hold the master key. Thanks for listening, friends. If this reminded you of your own battles, Maybe like it, share it, subscribe. I'll be back with more stories from the quiet corners. Until then, keep the wheels turning. Take care.